started like any other late night. I was tired, half watching a rerun on TV and fighting the urge to raid my empty kitchen. So I did what I'd done countless times before. I ordered food. It was well past midnight, and only a handful of places were still delivering. I settled on a burger and fries from a diner I'd never tried before, Hudson's Eats. The app estimated a 40-minute delivery time, but just 5 minutes after ordering, I got a notification. Your driver, Aaron, is on the way. That was strange. No way the place could have made my food so quickly, let alone started driving it to me. Maybe the place was right around the corner? I shrugged it off. Watching the little car icon on the app, I saw Aaron's estimated arrival, getting closer with unnatural speed. Then, at 12:14 a.m., it showed arriving. I opened the door, expecting to see a car pulling up, but there was nothing, just empty, quiet street. I closed the app and opened it again, but it still said arriving. A sinking feeling gnawed at my stomach as I waited, staring out into the empty night. Finally, around 12:30, I heard footsteps coming up the steps. I peered through the peephole and saw a man in a delivery jacket, holding a brown paper bag. Relieved, I opened the door. The man didn't say a word. He handed me the bag, staring at me with an unsettling smile that didn't reach his eyes. His clothes looked off, dirty, with dark stains I didn't want to think too much about. I thanked him and quickly closed the door, trying to shake the chill that had crept over me. When I opened the bag, the smell hit me. A foul, metallic scent mixed with something else I couldn't place. Inside was a burger, but the meat looked raw, almost purple, and glistening as if it had just been butchered. The fries were soaked in some dark, oily substance. I gagged and threw the whole thing away, disgusted. I was about to write a complaint when my phone dinged with another notification. Thank you for ordering from Hudson's Eats. Rate your experience. I tapped on the message, but it redirected me to my order history. Confused, I scrolled down to find nothing. There was no record of any recent orders from Hudson's Eats, and no sign of my payment. It was like the transaction never happened. Shaken, I tried to call Hudson's Eats directly, but the line was disconnected. When I searched the diner online, all I found were old news articles. Local diner Hudson's Eats shuts down after owner found dead. The article was dated 2 years ago. I threw my phone down, heart pounding, convinced I was losing my mind. I locked every door, pulled every curtain, and told myself I just had a bad dream. But as I sat there, trying to calm down, a notification appeared on my phone. Your driver, Aaron, is on the way. The little car icon started moving again. My hands started to shake as I stared at the screen, that tiny car icon inching closer and closer to my location. I glanced at the clock. It was now almost 1 a.m., but there was no way this was real. I'd already gotten the delivery, hadn't I? And yet, as the car drew nearer, I felt my heart racing faster, my breath shallow and cold. Every minute that passed felt longer than the last. I backed away from the door, my eyes flicking between the screen and the front door, where I half expected to hear footsteps again. Then, as if on cue, there was a slow, deliberate knock. I froze. The knock came again, louder this time, and an uneasy familiarity settled over me. Daring myself to look through the peephole, I leaned in, my face inches from the door. My breath hitched. Standing there, with the same unsettling smile, was the driver, Aaron. His eyes fixed right on the peephole as if he knew I was watching. This time, his face was pale and bloodless, his clothes soaked in fresh stains of that same dark substance I'd seen on the fries. I stumbled back as the knocking continued, relentless and rhythmic, until it felt like it would drive me mad. Then, abruptly, it stopped. Silence filled the room, and I didn't dare to look again. The next morning, I mustered the courage to open the door. There was no sign of anyone outside, except for a single grease-stained brown bag on my doorstep. I didn't open it. I just threw it in the trash and deleted every food delivery app from my phone. But every now and then, I still get those notifications. Your driver, Aaron, is on the way, and whenever it happens, I stay perfectly still, waiting, hoping he won't knock again. I've been a food delivery driver for about a year. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. I like the late shifts when the streets are quieter, and the customers are usually too tired or distracted to do more than sign and wave. I never had any reason to feel uneasy until last Friday. It was past midnight, and I was almost done with my last order, a small place on the outskirts of town. As I drove, the GPS went haywire, jumping between directions as though it couldn't decide where to take me. Finally, it pointed me down a winding road I'd never seen before, with dense trees on either side and not a single streetlight. Every instinct told me to turn back, but I wanted to finish my shift, so I kept going. The house appeared out of nowhere, shrouded in darkness, the kind of place you'd imagine in a ghost story. I parked outside, double-checking the order on my phone. Hot wings, garlic bread, a large soda. I grabbed the bag, got out of the car, and made my way up the cracked path to the front door. The house looked deserted, no lights in the windows, and I thought maybe someone had messed up the address. Just as I considered turning back, my phone buzzed with a message from the customer. Please bring the food inside. I left the door unlocked. Normally, I wouldn't step foot inside someone's house, but the tone of the message was off. Something about it made me feel uneasy, like I was being watched. I reached for the handle, and to my surprise, the door creaked open without resistance. The inside of the house smelled stale, like something rotting. The darkness was thick, barely penetrated by the dim light from my phone screen. I called out, "Hello? Delivery?" No response. I stepped inside, holding the bag tight, the silence pressing down on me. My footsteps echoed as I moved down the hall, guided by a flickering light at the end. When I reached it, I found an old dining room, empty except for a single chair in the middle of the room. The walls were covered in strange symbols I couldn't decipher, drawn in what looked like... Well, I didn't want to think about it. Then my phone buzzed again. I looked down and my stomach turned. The message was from the customer. It's rude not to join me at the table. The room was empty, but I had that crawling feeling again, the sensation of being watched. Then I heard a faint whisper from behind me, a voice as soft as a breeze. "Sit." I froze, my heart racing. Another message flashed on my phone. "Sit down." I glanced around the room, then, trying to keep calm, I backed toward the front door. That's when I heard it, the door slamming shut. My heart sank. Another message appeared on my screen. "You can't leave now." In a panic, I dropped the food bag and ran toward the door. The knob wouldn't budge, as if welded shut. The shadows in the room seemed to grow thicker, creeping along the walls, closing in around me. I turned back, desperately looking for another way out. Another buzz. "Come back. I don't like to eat alone." A shiver ran down my spine as I realized the message wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from inside the house. The air felt thick, suffocating, and I gasped, stumbling backward. The walls seemed to shift, twisting and contorting as if the house itself was alive, trapping me. I could feel something moving, circling around me in the dark, its presence heavy and ancient. Finally, I saw it. A figure, shadowy and tall, standing at the far end of the hall. Its face was obscured, but I could feel its eyes on me, watching, hungry. Another message appeared. I ordered wings. "Where's my meal?" I was paralyzed, my feet frozen to the floor. The figure moved closer, its shape bending and shifting in unnatural ways. It raised a hand, reaching toward me, the smell of decay filling my lungs. I don't remember how I got out of that house. The next thing I knew, I was back in my car, breathing heavily, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. My phone lay on the passenger seat, its screen cracked, with one final message lighting up the screen. "Thank you for delivering. Next time, stay for dinner." The police said the house had been abandoned for years, with no record of anyone living there. The last owner had disappeared under strange circumstances. They didn't ask any more questions, just told me not to go back there. Since that night, every time I get a late-night delivery, I double-check the address. And if the directions seem off or if I get any strange requests, I refuse the order.